Welcome back. All right. So I want to talk about Seattle today, as I mentioned yesterday. I want to take a look at Seattle because we're going to be going into year two. Now, they're not done. I don't think they're done anyways. So it's not a season preview per se. Their record last year was 27, 49, and 6. They want to improve on that. And clearly, Ron Francis has looked to this offseason as a chance to improve the roster. I would expect incremental improvement this year. And then next year, who knows, right? So this season may be that one where they would get more than 30 wins, be a little more competitive, keep the puck out of their net a little bit more, and fix their special teams. They were 14.6% on the power play, 74.9% on the penalty kill. So neither the power play nor the penalty kill putting up the kind of numbers that you want from your team. Their cap space currently, according to Cap Friendly, is $2.21 million. So they still have a little bit of money here. They still have something they can play with down the road and decide on who to keep, who to get rid of, and all that fun stuff. But either way, they are a team that still has some cap space there, and they're definitely in better shape than about half the teams in the league when it comes to the cap. But they also have 3 second-round picks next year, so if they decide to make an improvement, they may be able to take those second-round picks and maybe move a couple of them in order to solidify their lineup, maybe get rid of a contract. We'll see what they do, right? When you look at this group, I don't think it matters who you put on what line. It looks to me like Seattle is trying to put together a 4-line attack, which makes a lot of sense. In this day and age, you need to have all 4 lines contributing in their own way. So on the left side, you have Schwartz, McCann, Bjorkstrand, and Tanev. Now these are depth charts using Cap Friendly because I'm not worried about who's on what line right now. But you look at that left side, and with Bjorkstrand there, it really is stacked. Schwartz, McCann, Tanev, along with Bjorkstrand. It might be Schwartz that maybe ends up being the odd man out if they decide to move somebody on the left side. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there, but we'll see what happens, right? Down the middle, you have Matty Beniers, who had 9 points in 10 games after his call-up, and he looked very good. Yanni Gord, you have Wenberg, and then you have Wright. So if Shane Wright comes in as the 4th-line center, he will be able to gradually acclimate to the NHL and then move his way up the lineup. This is very similar to the way Lafreniere has been brought along by the New York Rangers, and now going into this coming season, the expectation on Lafreniere is he should be able to improve on that 19 goals that he had this past season and start to become the player that the Rangers drafted first overall. So I like their depth down the middle. And remember, in order to compete in the playoffs, it's that depth down the middle that's really important. And then on the right side, you have Eberle Burakovsky, who was added from Colorado. That's going to be a huge boost to their offense. Donskoy and Geeky. So Jonas Donskoy, who had one of the most jinxed seasons in history in terms of any kind of luck around the goal and getting goals for himself. We'll see if he bounces back this year. I hope he does, because he had opportunities and he played very well. Just the puck wasn't going in the net for him. It wasn't happening. Apologies for the pausing, but allergies, all that fun stuff. So their depth up front, they've added some. John Hayden's been signed. They've got Carson Coleman, of course, from last year. Cole Lind. Pagansky's been added. McCormick, true. Froden has been added from Boston. And Podorowski has been added as well. So some experienced depth up front and some guys who can step in when injuries take place, and we know they will. But again, I really like this forward group. I think this is pretty darn good. And so I think we're going to see Seattle being underrated coming into this season. They did finish last in their division this past year, but adding Bjorkstrand and Burakovsky without losing anything off your roster to get either player, that's huge. Of course, having Shane Wright drop into their laps, there's a lot of hype around him in Seattle right now, and if he lives up to that hype, it could be quite the season. Then you get to the blue line. You've got Vince Dunn, who had an excellent year. Larson did as well. Larson activated more offensively than I had seen him do in Edmonton. Alexiak, they added Schultz on the blue line, so they're hoping for a bounce back here from Schultz. Soucy and Borgen rounding out the blue line. And then the depth is pretty good here too. Kempney has just been added as depth. You have Cale Fleury, you have Olofsson, who's got some NHL experience, and Brogan Rafferty, who again has been a farmhand for a while, but he is capable of stepping in here and there if he needs to. So I like the depth on the blue line. Could they use another, big name on the blue line? Yeah. And that's why I was thinking they might have ended up being the one to take Nemitz in the draft, but Nemitz ended up going earlier, so they get Shane Wright instead. I don't think they're going to be complaining about that trade-off. So, and then it comes down to goaltending. So you have Grubauer, whose .889 save percentage stands out, and they need more saves from Grubauer. They do need better defense in front of them. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can need both. Better play from your goaltender and better defense in front of them, and that's what Seattle needs more than anything else. Now, they've added Martin Jones. Martin Jones is coming off of a pretty good year for Philly. Honestly, I thought Jones played pretty well. And then they have Drieger, who, of course, is going to be injured to start the season, will not be playing, and may miss up until March. Depending on when he's good to go, he may be out till March. And then they have Decord as well. So they have some depth in net. Once Drieger comes back, you can then look at making a move. If Grubauer has another rough start to the season, if Jones has a really good start to the season, could be interesting if/when Drieger is ready as to what they do. They have lost some players from last year's roster. I'm just counting the ones that they lost since the end of the season, not the ones they traded at the deadline. Donato, who could still re-sign, but where would you put him? Right, so if Ryan Donato was going to be re-signed, where would you put him here? Daniel Sprong, who actually played well, goal-scoring-wise for Seattle, but I guess they didn't see upside going on, and they didn't see a spot for him in the lineup. Victor Rask, who I thought had a decent run with Seattle as well, and Cholowski on the blue line has been moved on from as well. Now, I look at this lineup, and I say to myself, this is a team that's going to be in contention for a playoff spot. Schultz on the blue line is a good addition. I like the additions up front, and again, Jones is a backup. That's serviceable, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see how things go. And of course, Jones being back in the same division as San Jose, that could make for some fun matchups. And I'm anxious to see what they do. So the question I have for people watching this is a simple one. How much better will Seattle be? And in the Pacific, where the perception is that it's a weak division, can Seattle squeeze into a playoff spot? Or is that not going to be the case because 5 Central Division teams would make it and 3 Pacific, which is usually the prediction, even though that doesn't always come through, does it? But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.